Hi, my name's Daryl Headaway, CEO of Silk Route Rail, a new startup on the famous Silkway path between China and Europe. Here I stand in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, Hong Kong. It's one of the great trading centres where East meets West and where international freight forwarders have been for many, many years. It's important that it represents more than just a trading hub. It represents security of contract and a hub for doing business. A perfect place to start our new business. Maybe Hong Kong has been known for its ships, but today we start something new, rail. This is a mode of transport that has been important to societies all over the world for well over a century. This is about efficiency of movement of cargo, and lots of it. If you look at the United States today, something like 43% of cargoes are moved by rail. In the Asia-Europe trade routes, there is very few rail movements. So in regard to this, there's a lot going on. If you look at these landlocked countries and landlocked cities, we've got places like China building mega cities in the west of the country. Cities like Chongqing, a city of 30 million people. Many other examples like that. They need product. They need to distribute product. They're becoming manufacturing centers for the world. Many of these countries, like Russia, like Kazakhstan, like China, are spending billions of dollars today to try and build this route, creating the land bridge between China and Europe. These countries are also getting aggressive on improving practices to make this real. The way they deal with customs. We also have companies like DP World who are now getting involved in the route, in places like Morgos, in places like Aktau on the Caspian Sea, to improve the practices that are happening on the Silkway. So here goes the opportunity. When we consider what trains are being operated today, basically you've got the Chinese platform companies, the Kazakhs, the Russians, largely moving the trains from China to Europe and back. This is out of necessity and history that this is all it's got going so far. Some interesting facts. First off, something like 50% of the volumes that travel on the ocean are done by NVOCCs, non-vessel operating common carriers. That statistic in this part of the world on the train networks is basically zero. The second important statistic is that there are 5 trains going from China to Europe, with about 1 slowly increasing coming back. So the statistics show it's well out of balance. The third issue is one of trust. I was reading an interesting book recently where McKinsey had done a study that talked about trust in societies, particularly in these new emerging countries, in these developing countries. For example, in China, the rating of headquartered companies in China, the trust rating is about 36%, as against a German company around 75%. The next fact, which is very interesting, is try and ring up some of these companies and get some customer service. Very interesting experience. The percentage of reefer traffic going by rail is also almost non-existent today, when in fact the number of reefer materials, that's refrigerated containers, moving from Europe to China is well over 400,000 containers a year. Lastly, which is also interesting, is this development of efficiency. In the years 1981 to 2000, the efficiency of the US systems improved by 170%, and their costs had decreased effectively by about 55% in train movements. Very important cultural question of how companies move forward. Please don't get me wrong. These train operators are trying and improving and evolving, but these items I just mentioned are very significant in those changes. So I hope you can see where we're heading with this. This is where Silk Route Rail's journey begins. That opportunity is about moving trains faster and more efficiently across 12,000 kilometres and the many countries and cultures across that territory.
It's about the customer service and about providing quality, people oversight and solutions. Efficiency to us means adding in the use of the hub and spoke to work on more trains and cargo close to the end destination, no different to many other industries. It is also focused on working and innovation for faster and more economical train movements, moving trip times down from 15 or 12 days down to 10 days. We will also use technology. We will link in and get immediate pricing on movements between well over 1,000 locations, including London, Lyon, Antwerp, Chongqing, Shanghai, Beijing. We believe it is in our reach to have turnover of $500 million plus within 3 to 5 years. So why Silk Route Rail? Why us? We will be the first NTOCC, independent of any freight forwarder. In the near future, we hope to be the name on rail between Asia and Europe. Our international team and people agreeing to work with us include some very experienced individuals in business, customer service, marketing, research on industry needs, hub and spoke operations, block trains, containers, and logistics. They have worked across the region and have relationships in some of the highest levels. Companies they've worked for include Federal Express, a number of major logistics companies like Kuehne+Nagel, Boston Consulting Group, Anderson Business Consulting, Deloitte. Take a look at our webpage for some of the backgrounds of our senior people. We have already established relationships also with many of the railway companies, agents and terminals which will be part of our network. We know what is necessary to keep driving at efficiency and innovation. Our first shipments have already gone and we're about to open up existing landlocked countries and towns to global markets.
What are we going to do with the money? We're looking to raise about $40 million from you, founders, ourselves, financial institution, investors, and other collaborators. We are largely an asset-light company. However, we do need to manage these special containers and reefer containers for the industry and the customer needs to ensure our European cargoes are returned. Also, we're looking at several strategic investments that allow us to get a very quick startup, with several already identified in the negotiation phase. This should be able to see us get through our startup phase, which we see as 3 to 6 months, in a very quick time and turn us into a profitable entity.
We look forward to your continuing support as customers and as potentially shareholders, and we'll keep you up to date with what we're doing regularly through additional videos on this site. Also, please do not hesitate to call me or send me a note on our information at silkrouterail.com.